Little did they know attending an ordinary motel opening ceremony would lead to the murder of 8 out of 12 people within 3 days, leaving only 4 survivors. Even more shockingly, among these 4 survivors, 3 are killers, a couple of serial killers, and another whose true identity has remained deeply concealed, having lurked all this time, never uncovered. The day after Blake's death, Shirley sat quietly by the bed, her gaze fixed intently on Floyd. They had waited for this day for a full 30 years. 3 decades of endurance and scheming, 3 decades of blood and silence now finally ushered in the dawn before the climax. Although they had assistance from another person along the way, the true endgame would be completed by their own hands tonight. A sinister smile curled on Floyd's lips, but Shirley promptly reminded him they needed 9 bodies for the sacrifice. Currently, the storeroom held 6, with 1 still missing, and they must recover it before wildlife found it. As Shirley and Floyd stepped out of the motel, Paige saw them and followed. The 2 spotted Blake's shirt on the road, but quickly realized this was merely a result of hypothermic hallucination. Losing control of body temperature creates a burning sensation, ultimately leading victims to strip off their clothes and walk to their death. They whispered speculations about the corpse's condition, marveling at the mystery and fragility of the human body. Soon after, they discovered Blake's mangled corpse nearby. One thing was now certain: Blake was not the killer. He had become the latest victim. The question then arose, how were they going to bring him back to the motel? And could that pile of remains still be used to complete the ritual? Just then, Paige approached, asking curiously what they were doing. Upon learning they were searching for Blake, Paige gasped sharply, confronted by the grisly scene, and asked in confusion what had happened. Floyd pointed to a nearby handheld snowplow, hinting that it was the reason for the body's dismemberment. Suspicion began to swirl. Paige demanded to know if Floyd had done it. Then another question surfaced. Where was Andy? Paige stated Andy was still inside making breakfast and insisted he couldn't have done such a thing. Shirley stressed she had been with Floyd all night, but when asked if Paige had been with Andy, Paige fell silent. She admitted they had slept in their separate rooms. In other words, Andy had no alibi for the entire night. Back at the motel, Shirley examined Floyd's wound. The surrounding skin was red, swollen, and puffy, showing clear signs of infection. She observed Floyd's wound with concern, stating they needed antibiotics for treatment. But Floyd's response revealed a strange confidence. He needed no medicine, for after tonight, Baphomet would fulfill all their needs. This statement exposed their true beliefs and plan. The legendary demon Baphomet would be summoned in tonight's ritual, and they believed it would grant them supernatural power and eternal life. Shirley's expression turned grave. She analyzed the dangerous situation. Unless some unknown outsider existed, one of Paige or Andy had to be the killer. She realized this killer's existence threatened their meticulously planned ritual, because as long as the killer was free to act, the midnight ceremony was in jeopardy. Floyd proposed a brutal solution: simply kill both Paige and Andy. But Shirley reminded him of one crucial detail. They needed the blood of the living, because blood from the dead had lost its power. The blood must flow in the victim's final moments to possess the supernatural strength required to summon the demon. After weighing the options, Floyd decided to behead Andy first, then bleed Paige dry at midnight. But Shirley had a more calculated plan. Recognizing the true killer's extreme danger, she proposed a cleverer strategy, turning one of them to their side. The core of this plan was division, making one believe the other was the killer to secure their cooperation. After careful consideration, they chose Paige as the one to win over. Shirley felt Paige was better suited as the sacrifice to Baphomet, adding one could say her whole life had prepared her for this role. Meanwhile, Paige told Andy about finding Blake's body. When asked how Blake actually died, she gave only a short, sickening answer: the snowplow. Paige suddenly laughed, the sound short and unsettling, before she caught herself. Andy reassured her, saying she was just in shock and her emotional reaction was understandable. The timeline shifts back several years. Andy's thesis critiques the decay of contemporary horror culture. He points out that today's elevated slashers hide behind pretentious artistic packaging, while a flood of sensationalized true crime podcasts and documentaries runs rampant. Extreme violence seeks legitimacy under the guise of art house films, and repulsive elements become challenge content encouraged by social platforms. He calmly notes the shared consequence behind these phenomena, a recurring yet undeniable fact over the past 70 years. Audiences are being continuously desensitized, gradually losing their perception of violence's consequences and their capacity for empathy. Sitting across from him, his professor interrupted with a cold sneer, his tone full of disdain and mockery. Shirley initiates their move, attempting to bring Paige over to their side. Floyd suggests that if Paige feels unsafe being around Andy, she can stay with them. However, Paige finds no comfort in this. Instead, she voices her fear more bluntly. Andy suspects Shirley and Floyd. Shirley and Floyd suspect Andy, and she suspects everyone. She states outright that no one is safe until police or outside help arrives. This crisis is far from over. Shirley argued that if they really were the killers, they could have easily acted back in the woods when it was 2 against 1, trying to use logic to dispel suspicion. She then proposes that if Paige doesn't believe them, she can search their belongings.
As long as we can go through yours, and Andy's too, it's only fair.
I can't make that decision for him.
Good news is you won't have to. Because if we pass this test, that'll be the writing on the wall.
Paige personally goes to Shirley and Floyd's room and conducts a thorough search. The room held nothing suspicious, but she didn't know the key evidence. The Baphomet mask was already hidden in the ceiling crawl space. They then moved to Paige's room, yet the result was the same. The room contained nothing unusual. As they began searching Andy's room, Shirley unexpectedly discovered a book that looked highly suspicious. She starts reading aloud passages about demon worship. A woman's blood holds symbolic power, thus defiling the pure weakens God's strength. The content was both repulsive and malicious, typical of demonic literature. She also found an entire chapter detailing instructions for live animal experimentation on cats. The extreme nature of this content shocked everyone present, Floyd included, who showed appropriate surprise. But he also urged everyone to stay quiet, because if Andy heard them discussing this, he would know they'd found his secret, and they needed the element of surprise. Shirley added that no matter how normal Andy might seem on the surface, he was actually an extremely dangerous deviant. Faced with such damning evidence, Paige began to waver. She asked if the 3 of them could subdue Andy and lock him up until the police arrived. Floyd analyzed the plan's feasibility, thinking they might succeed if Andy was unprepared. Just then, Shirley remembered a more humane solution. She recalled there were sleeping pills in Ruby and Portia's room. Using them could avoid direct violence. Paige ultimately agreed to the plan, unaware she was becoming a pawn in a carefully orchestrated scheme. She volunteered to get the pills and slip them into Andy's drink. After Paige left, Floyd praised Shirley's scheme as genius. But Shirley showed a hint of concern, hoping they had chosen the right target. This revealed a crucial point. They weren't actually sure who the real killer was, or perhaps didn't care. Their goal from the start was clear, securing enough sacrifices for their bloody ritual. After Paige drugged Andy as planned, he quickly felt dizzy, weakly asking Paige what she had given him. With a hint of guilt, Paige reassured Andy it was just sleeping pills. He would sleep for a while, and she hoped the police would be there when he woke. Her voice held sincere apology, for even believing Andy was the killer, betraying his trust caused her inner pain. Before losing consciousness, Andy issued a final warning, telling Paige in broken words the truth. He was not the killer. When Floyd and Shirley arrived at the room to deal with Andy, Paige asked a question showing her inner kindness, wondering if they could just lock the door without tying Andy up. This revealed her inherently compassionate nature, still hoping to minimize harm to Andy. But Floyd insisted on sticking to the original plan, believing tying Andy up was essential for control. Shirley joined in, reassuring Paige, promising they wouldn't hurt Andy, only acting to ensure everyone's safety. She then suggested Paige take a bath to relax, which was actually a ploy to get Paige away so she could prepare for the next phase. Just as Paige was bathing, fate took an unexpected turn. Paige's phone suddenly emitted a series of crisp notification sounds, showing she had received multiple backlogged messages. The discovery shocked her. Network service had been restored. She immediately called the police. Meanwhile, Floyd had arranged the remains of 7 bodies into a circle. All that was missing now were Andy's remains and Paige's blood. After reporting to the police, Paige searched online for information about that suspicious book in Andy's room. The search results made her blood run cold. This discovery struck like a bolt from the blue, instantly making Paige realize the book was likely planted evidence by Floyd and Shirley. At this critical moment of discovery, Shirley entered the bathroom. Paige immediately pretended nothing had happened, but her phone suddenly chimed. Shirley picked up the phone, and upon seeing Paige's search history, knew all pretense was unnecessary. She had now completely shed her disguise as a mild-mannered, middle-aged woman, revealing her true, demonic nature. A fierce, life-or-death struggle erupted in the bathroom. This was no ordinary fight, but a pure battle for survival with no rules or mercy. Paige fought desperately, clawing Shirley's eyes, ultimately forcing Shirley into the bathtub and slowly suffocating her in despair. After surviving the fight with Shirley, Paige immediately realized she must rescue Andy. She rushed to the room where Andy was held and quickly untied him. When Andy regained consciousness, he was furious about being drugged. Paige urgently explained everything to Andy, admitting Floyd and Shirley were the real killers and that she had been completely deceived by their elaborate scheme. Floyd and Shirley needed 9 sacrifices for their bloody ritual, and both she and Andy were on that death list. Learning the network was restored, Andy immediately analyzed the technical reason, reasonably concluding the storm must have disrupted the satellite signal.
I did call them. I called 911. They said they might take a while. They are full-blown blood cult Satanists. But we have to get out of here. We have to go before Floyd finds Shirley, okay?
Just then, Floyd discovered Shirley's death. Hearing Floyd's furious roar, Paige and Andy prepared to fight. As they stepped outside, Floyd blocked them in the hallway wearing the Baphomet mask.
Kelly was right about you all along. I thought it was you killing everyone, but nuh-uh. It was this seabird.
Wait, you're the killer?
Andy and Norman fight!
Of course you didn't know, Professor Andy. Because you couldn't even sniff out the originals. And I gotta say, this one puts us both to shame.
He's lying. They killed everyone.
She was all ready to drug you at the first chance. Oh, look at her. Look at her hold that knife. She wanted to jump at the chance. She wanted to drug you.
You've been a liar ever since you got.
Andy pulled Paige into the basement, where dismembered limbs with still wet blood littered the floor, the stench of decay and iron mingling in the air like an antechamber to hell. Before they could process this, footsteps suddenly closed in behind them. Floyd appeared at the stairway's end, declaring everything had finally reached the last step. The ritual needed only one final piece, and Paige before him was the key to opening that gate. But just as Floyd was about to succeed, the fight took an unexpected turn. Paige and Andy displayed extraordinary coordination born of desperation, their will to survive unleashing unprecedented fighting strength. Ultimately, they overpowered the experienced killer Floyd.
You were the killer.
I am not the killer!
Together, the dying killer uttered his final declaration of victory. Andy tried to refute this supernatural claim with reason and science, firmly stating no demons or summoning rituals existed. Facing this uncertainty, Paige made a decisive and brutal choice. Unwilling to risk whether Floyd's prophecy was true, and even with him near death, she couldn't let the threat persist. So she picked up a shovel and severed Floyd's neck. When Andy asked when help would arrive, Paige recalled her conversation with the 911 operator. Rescuers promised to arrive as soon as possible, likely before they woke up. Waking the next day, Andy saw a bloodstain seeping through the ceiling. Curiously opening the ceiling panel, he found a fresh human heart. Just then, police sirens sounded outside, and they rushed out eagerly to meet them.
Are you Andy the Cavalier?
Yeah, that's me.
We're so glad to see you.
3 days ago to celebrate the opening of the Cold River.
Never heard anything like this.
Yes, you have. 30 years ago. I bet some of the dry blood on that mask will be from the original victims.
You sure this older couple...
Floyd and Shirley.
Yeah, Floyd and Shirley. Are you sure that they killed everyone?
Every single person who is dead in there.
So there's no chance they might have been working with someone out in the woods?
No.
I'm sorry. I know you two have been through a lot. We gotta ask.
No, it was all them. No one else.
Okay, you two stay right here.